Hello, chat. Welcome back. Hi, I'm Chef Jay Tay. Happy to see ya. How you doing? Happy Tuesday to ya. Not a normal stream night anymore. Used to be a stream night. Happy to see you, JK. So we're doing Thanksgiving prep tonight. Going to be cutting up our duck, getting a sort of stock going, using the duck for our sauce. I say sort of stock because it's going to be a stock, it's just not going to be same veggies. Like, I don't think I'm going to be putting carrots in there. I'm going to be shying away from a lot of the sweeter things when it comes to this. Let's hope we got enough power to get this going. I haven't replaced the batteries in the scale yet. So let's see if we can get 90 seconds out of the scale before it dies on me. Alright, I meant 30 seconds. We just need that counter to get to 30 reliably. Hi, Nan Reader. Hello, Will. Made it just long enough. Thank you for the resub, Will. 41 months. Some of you guys get upstairs. I appreciate it. Thank you. I need some water on top of my coffee. Got fresh leeks, or leek, celery. Also going to be doing orzo pesto and roasted mushroom dealio. And I'm not sure if I'm going to sit with just that for dinner. That's probably going to be enough for dinner, but I'm mostly making that for Thanksgiving. Hoping it will be better on Thanksgiving. I do happen to have a partially open package of shells and a half-pound of ground beef in the fridge, not getting fresher. Did I add sugar to this already? $25 in a row, wow. Ooh, I didn't see if my cream is going to handle not only tonight, but next couple of days. I don't think it's going to. I'm going to have to try and sneak in there and get another bottle of cream, I think. Thank you all for joining me tonight. I hope you've had a good start to your week. Cheers. Really? Freeze distilling? Interesting. That isn't how I thought it was. I'm not an Applejack connoisseur, though, so... Alright, what do we start with for tonight? I think we need... get going with the duck first. Hey, Splits. Drain off. Get a pot here. I'm gonna let the bird drain out its juices. I figure waste not, want not. It's likely to coagulate in making the stock, but that doesn't mean that it's not helping the stock. I mean, we're gonna strain the stock anyways. I'm not worried about it being perfectly clear. Yeah, the fascination with a flute. Because that is most certainly not the proper one for Tempranillo either. Alright, so we got neck, legs, thighs in the back, wings and neck and the carcass are going to go into the drink. The breasts I am going to cut off. Yeah, glass would work much better. Like, glass would work with champagne or okay, this mistake. I should have left it on this side. Yeah, better with it that way. Oh, I didn't clean up around the rib cage here yet. Keeping most of the fat with the cuts of meat, even though, like, I'm not going to keep all of this fat with the leg. It'll probably be perfectly fine in with the sous vide. I'll probably leave it in to sous vide it. Might even leave it in to crisp it up, but I'll probably cut it up before cut it off or clean it up. Am I missing us? Oopsies. Thank you, Muskeg. I'm a little too preoccupied to sit there and read and diagnose myself right now. There we go. Okay, so the rest of this is going in the drink. I'm just going to break down the wings to and I'm not going to break down the rest of that. I'm just going to stuff it in there. What's wrong with flute? It's just a lot of flute is, there's some other uses for it, but it's primarily just a champagne glass. Like, there are very few actual drinks that are like typically served in a champagne glass or a champagne flute. I guess under some definitions you might be able to call most wine glasses flutes. I just don't think of it that way. Like, someone says flute, and I think... And I think this, without watermarks. Okay, so this is what we got in our pot now. I'll throw this over on the stove. It'll be easier to see over here anyways. Put it on this side. And as I said, this is not going to be a traditional stock in my normal methods. So I'm just going to cover this in water and start cooking. This will work as a water vessel. Lobster bisque served with aglio olio spaghetti. It's scavettini. Wait. You're serving olive oil spaghetti with walnut sauce? And risotto? And cheesecake? I say 2 of these pots should be enough water for this project tonight. It'll get us a little over our bones. Salt. We'll let that do its thing. Now we come back here to the rest of this loveliness and figure out how we're going to prepare all of this for sous videing it tomorrow, which I'm going to do off stream. It's about the only thing I'm going to be doing tomorrow as far as the whole dinner is concerned. This is just going to be rolling pretty much all the way through. We're going to not only cook it through and strain it, but it's going to be thinned down quite a bit by dinner. I always order my steaks with the salad to make me feel healthy. Ooh, the chocolate cake's good taste too. So I think my method of attack here is going to be to use the maple on the meat sides. We're going to create our some maple. Maybe we'll do a little ancho chili. Pepper. We're going to ads. Oh. Well, I was going to be just about to talk about what all I was doing here. Lovely time. I coffee break. How we doing, chat? How's our week starting? Everyone stressing out yet? Or does that start tomorrow? Does your stress levels drop once you've gotten to said Thanksgiving location? Or are they just full bore the entire way through? For me, it generally was mostly just getting there. Ooh. Hi there, Hoot House live stream. Are you having a hoot of a time? We're doing some early Thanksgiving prep today. Thank you for joining me. Thank you so much for that raid. I have just deboned this duck that's on the cutting board right now. Nice. You're hitting me in the middle of an ad here, so I'm giving people another minute or so here till they get through. Thank you so much for that raid. Hopefully you've had a great day streaming. What I have done so far today, for those just joining in, I guess I can start in with that. If you're looking on the stove up above me, right over here, that would be the carcass, the wings, and the neck of this duck in water warming up. Do I have a flame on underneath that? I do. Cool. So that is the start of my... Well, I'm going to do a demi-glace, but sort of a demi-glace. I'm fudging things that wouldn't be fudged in a much larger operation or in a more dedicated, I'm just cooking for myself, Alright, so my plans for the duck is to sous vide it. I'm going to sous vide it tomorrow, and then I'm going to reverse sear it on Thursday on stream. I'll be streaming on Thanksgiving. And I'm going to be sous videing it in a combination of hazelnut oil, which is sitting over there, and maple. I've added some spice to my maple. I've added some ancho chili, which is not going to give it extreme heat, but I think it's going to give it some nice depth. And then maple. Maple, ancho chili, and pepper. These are basically going to be through the whole cooking process, but I'm only going to really put it on the meat sides, figuring the searing, I'm going to be searing the fat side up, and that way the stuff that's here is not going to get, it's going to get cooked, but it's not going to get extreme direct heat. And I pulled out a Ziploc bag. I don't think that I am going to bag these up tonight. I think I am going to coat these with maple and shove this whole cutting board into my refrigerator, regardless of if it can fit or not. After we get done with the duck here, I'm going to get into doing the duck stock, the veg for the duck stock, and then we'll get into doing the orzo dish that is sort of for dinner tonight, sort of for definitely for Thanksgiving, but sort of for tonight. As I said earlier, I'm leaving the fat with this since I think it'll do more good with the meat than with the stock. I'm not adventurous, nor do I feel I have enough here to render it down and use it for something like tortilla shells or... Alright. So that is majority of what I set there, the maple. And yeah, that is just going to sit like that in the refrigerator so it gets a little bit of fan air, it dries out a bit, it tightens up a bit. And I'll throw it into Ziplocs tomorrow with hazelnut oil and we'll get it going sous vide. I haven't looked at times and temps. I'm just going for the long cook on these, so I know it's going to be ballpark of 24 hours, but it could be less. There's certainly sous vide recipes that are considerably less, which that's not what I'm going for here. Alright, so we'll set this off to the side for the moment. I am hoping to maybe even add a bit more maple to this as it dries out and becomes more tacky, sticks to it. You can add a couple extra layers. Now I have some celery in here, I believe, on top of what I am using tonight. I have leftover frosting too. And donuts. Donuts were amazing, but there's no way I'm eating 8 donuts. Yeah, this is what I'm using for the stock. We're using this one. Hold on, let's get the angle cam for this one. We're using this bunch of celery for this stock. not putting the leaves in there, but the rest of it's going in. So we're obviously going heavy on the celery here. This is more celery than I would put in certainly in a stock in that size. But the celery goes more with the profile. Certainly goes well with duck, but the sauce is almost going to be it's still going to be savory, but it's going to be the more acidic, bitter counterpunch to the maple duck. So it's more of a contrasting. Am I even seeing dirt in between? Oh yeah, there's a little bit there. This is all going in the stock. The rest of that's going in with the orzo. Actually, we're going to throw you in the fridge for a few. We're going to use you, but I had more celery than I remembered. And I think we're going to use this monstrous onion, but I don't know if we're going to use, might section a little bit of this off for our orzo. Like that is an onion. I guess top down it doesn't look necessarily, but it is. I've had wider onions that are... That's just one heck of an onion. I'm gonna leave that for our salad later. New England seafood chowder. See, that's a proper use of the word chowder. It's seafood. Typically, I'm getting into one of my gripes. They use the word bisque for way too many things. And chowder. I realized I'm talking about chowder when I was thinking about bisque. Again, I just talked about bisque yesterday, didn't I? I was talking about bisque when we weren't talking about bisque. All right, let's read through that one again. New England seafood chowder, served with garlic herb baked cod. Mango flambe with, like, is there a mango flambe dish that's famous? Or are we just boozing up mangoes? There's something that might be unpopular with Gen Z. If you give up booze, you can't have flambe. Let's see what's left in this bag, if any of this is usable. These are better off than I thought. I thought these were all very sad looking carrots. And to my surprise, they're actually looking not too shabby. I guess I will throw some carrots in this stock. There's more here than I thought that was usable. It doesn't really need the carrot, but I'm not going to use it for anything else. Hi, Soph. So there's our duck stock so far. We've got celery, leek, red onion, and carrot in there. We've got unknown quantity of water. I would say in the ballpark of gallon and a half. Maybe 2. And the carcass, neck, and wings from our duck. The duck breasts, legs, and thighs, I have coated the meat side with spiced maple syrup. We're going to let that dry and get tacky. Hopefully it'll get dry and tacky even while I'm just here on stream. Otherwise it's going to be in fridge overnight. I'm going to be sous videing it tomorrow. I don't know I haven't looked into the specifics of what I'm doing for sous videing it. I'm thinking I'm probably going to do the breasts and the legs separately. So, but I'll let you all know all of that info on Thursday, when you get to see me put a sear on the outside of it after it's been cooked in sous vide. Swim lessons. What's the best stroke? Or have we not gotten to that point? Are we beginning letters? How do I want to go about this? I think I want... Oh, that's what also I want to do. Let's see what else we got hidden in here. Oh, most certainly we're throwing ginger in here. As you can see, it's the freshest ginger known to man, and it's trying to grow. And we'll throw a couple of garlic cloves in there. I think they named breaststroke just to get more people interested in it. Let's clean off this knife for finishing up the onion. Alright, starting in on our Orzo dish, we're obviously going to need to roast things, so we are going to turn the oven on 400. Actually, I lied. I'm going to turn that up to 425 in my conventional oven. You're going to serve ceviche with beef Wellington. Really? Nice. Or not so nice. It is certainly a good skill to have. I'm just thinking of the poor kid in, I think it was Texas. Saved a kid's life and parents got him into trouble. Didn't do it quick enough. It's one hell of a meal there, Splits. I don't know what the actual age is that you have to be. It's probably different depending on which state you're in, if you're in the US.
Your menu's 4 lines long. Now, Dom Perignon, you certainly could put in a flute. Bone marrow maybe is a garnish to beef consomme. And duck confit. And lobster. It's a lot. Like, on one hand, like, you can look at tasting menus from places like El Bulli back in the day where it was like 3-4 hours of just plate after plate after plate after plate. And so you can have a menu like that. It's just, I'm outside of really that, none of these really are that, like, I don't think of it as being let's hold off on that. Let's get with our mushrooms first. Well, and peppers. So we have some Maitakes, some decent looking Chanterelles. So the only real thing I think I'm going to do here is make sure that this is cut in half so there's nothing stuck in the center, which there is, so we'll give that a rinse out. I'm not a big advocate for washing mushrooms, but as long as you give them a little time to recover before you get back into them, before you try and cook them. Hi, Penguin. Enjoy your lurk. So otherwise, give them fresh bottoms. I was thinking I might have those, but I think I'm going to leave them as is. Maitakes I'm just going to leave as is. Well, actually, no. Let's take a look at these. Let's look at the foot of these. I'm going to put all these on a sheet pan upside down from how I expect to roast them. And then I'll put them underneath the camera after they're over here. Boiling a bit hot here, so we'll turn down heat on our stock now that we're up to a nice full boil. And this is always a game with this stove. I can never get this stove to the right perfect, just slow bubble. So it's probably going to be bouncing between it not bubbling enough and bubbling too much. We got our mushrooms here upside down like I was saying. Well, we're upside down. And I'm going to spritz them all with oil on the underside. Actually, this is going to be better with avocado. The avocado oil is going to spray better for this. We'll give it a little olive oil so we can say we roasted them with olive oil. Salt. And flip. Should leave you on that side. Yeah. And second spritz. More salt. Ooh. Hello, Raiders. Thank you for the raid, Jane Henry. How have you been? What were we cooking up tonight, Jane Henry? Thank you so much for that raid. Alright, we're going into the oven with our chanterelles and maitakes. Give these a roast up. Oven's at 425. I'm gonna set, let's say, 15-minute timer to take a look at them. Like, they're small mushrooms. I don't want to go too far. I want to just get a nice roast on them. I don't want to burn them. And I think we're going to lightly stir the stock here a little bit to try and dislodge some of this funk from the veggies. Oh, we got our duck pump popping up top. That's what we got going on here. Okay. I didn't. You raided me. How are you using your chanterelles? perfectly good for the stock. I should have thought to throw this in there earlier. For those just joining in, hello, I'm Chef Jay Tay. I cook here 4 nights a week. I'm working on my Thanksgiving prep tonight. I am doing duck for my Thanksgiving. I'm cooking for myself, and I'm actually going to be streaming on Thanksgiving. So I'm going to be streaming finishing all of this, not just starting it today. But I'm doing a maple glazed, or maple and hazelnut oil duck, which I portioned earlier, and have coated with a combination of spice and maple on the meat side, not on the fat side, just on the meat side. And I'm hoping to get maybe a couple layers of maple on it as it dries and tacks. And tomorrow I will be sous videing them. I'll bag them up and I'll sous vide them. I don't know the times and temps yet that I'm planning, but I am planning a longer sous vide for it. And then I'm going to reverse sear it here on Thanksgiving on Thursday. The other thing I'm working on tonight, and then the wings, the neck, and the rest of the carcass is in that pot with root veggies, sort of stock-like veggies. I went heavier with celery. I went lighter on carrot. I'm sort of thinking of my stock, I'm going to really reduce this down for my sauce. And I'm thinking of this as more of the still savory but bitter and acidic counterpart to the sweeter duck. Just random thought. For anyone out there doing Brussels sprouts for the first time this year, burnt Brussels sprouts are not overcooked. Just putting that out there. This dish that I'm working on here is going to be an orzo, or a pasta dish. I am roasting the chanterelles and the maitakes. We have the leeks here, red onion, carrot, more celery, and then peppers. It's, as I said, it's almost like my stuffing this year. It's going to have all sorts of veggies in there, all sorts of depth, and then I'm using orzo, which is, if you're unfamiliar with orzo, it's a pasta, but it's the pasta that's shaped like rice. Half the time you even find it in like rice packages, especially the old school rice packages. And I'm doing that today in hopes that since it's a pasta salad, I'm planning on serving it warm, but all I'm planning on doing is warming it up. And that way it'll have like bread stuffing or something along that line, a couple of days to sort of meld and get all the flavors together. And the thing I'm still sort of debating in my head is how hot do I want to go with this? Do I want to leave this just sort of sweet peppery? Considering it's going with maple hazelnut duck and my gravy, the purple sweet potatoes, and the spinach and corn custards. Yep, we went a little too far in the wrong direction here. Now we're too cold. That was way too much. Let's try that. I'm hoping we can get some of that veg to drop. Usually the veg won't drop unless you drop the temp and bring it back up again with all of it. But I'm hoping to get some of that veg away from some of that. It's looking a little scummier than a chicken stock, and so I'm thinking I'm going to pull away a little bit more of the foam and nastiness of this stock. It's certainly I think it fits well with the type of animal. Like, you certainly got a lot more iron there with the color of the meat and the duck. So it makes sense that same sort of stuff maybe in their meat too. So we got, I think I'm going to stick with just 2 types of peppers. I don't think I'm going to go super hot with this. I am going to add some green bell pepper. Jane Henry getting married? What are you trying to imply here, Splits? Maybe we'll do 2 planks of green bell pepper with this party. Maybe we'll do these two. And then I got a couple Anaheims here, or a Anaheim. Let's do a Anaheim. I'm smelling those mushrooms. I still got 2 minutes on that timer, but I'm tempted to look. I think I'm gonna look. Like how these are looking. They're going to go back in there for a bit longer. I'm going to give those another 10 minutes in there. Yeah, it seems like mine's getting worse too, Jane Henry. I think they basically want you to pay for it at this point. Which I am. But I'm doing it for my bot, not for this. Alright, mushrooms going back in for another 10. And I'm actually debating changing it. There's I'm forgetting the name of it. But there's one that's really popular now, but it takes more computer resources because it's doing part of the processing computer side. I'm debating switching it for my stream, and I'm debating having my bot just do it for my stream. And I'm half wanting to just leave it and be lazy. So I don't know which I'm going to do. I haven't made a decision on that yet. Loving the smell on this pepper. What am I using for my closed captioning? I forget the exact name of it, but it's like Google closed captioning or closed captioning with Google. It's one of the OBS plugins on the OBS plugin page, but the one I was talking about earlier that uses more processing power, it's like Lingua Ingo or something. It's some sort of catchy name or fun to say word instead of being like an actual name. That one uses more computer power than the one that I'm currently using. And the ones that I used to use before this were Pixel, which were from my days at Mixer. I switched off of Pixel because these ones will work with the official Twitch encoding setup. So even though I'm putting them on my screen, you can see the like Twitch version if you want to. The black and white old school one. Hey Alex, welcome in. And also very cool of it, it saves my captions to a text file, which before my bot was doing its own captions deciphering, it was reading off of. My own. I still use StreamerBot for some things, but mostly just for easy, lazy overlay placement. I have a couple of scripts that I haven't replaced just because it works. Why? But primarily I'm using, I started, like, I went to, not this TwitchCon, but the last TwitchCon. And basically when I got back from TwitchCon, I bought a Raspberry Pi 5, an SSD card for the Raspberry Pi 5, and just straight started coding using vibe coding, using my knowledge of coding that I have that's minor, but I feel like... No, there's been 2 San Diego ones since Vegas. So the one after Vegas, but not just the last year. So basically I've spent the last year vibe coding my own stream bot. It also does all sorts of other cool things, like analyzes my streams. I'm trying to train it on creating recipes off my streams, but it's really rough right now. And it also uploads and updates my website with all of that at midnight every night. I've got some Fresno peppers, but I decided I don't want to go that hot into this. Oh, why are we going into what? Why didn't... But speaking of how amazing my bot is, it forgot to run ads at the top of the hour. So we're going to quick run an ad here. Maybe my bot is not running. Maybe something happened to it tonight. I noticed it didn't respond to a dinner command earlier. Yeah. You're acting like you're on. Maybe that Hoot House 80-person raid earlier tonight overloaded it trying to add in all the new users. I don't know what happened there, but it was definitely locked up. It's definitely not playing an ad like I intended it to. I have rebooted it. Let's take a look at these mushrooms. They're smelling delicious. Yeah, we don't want to go much further with these. That there is a 23 minutes. At 425 in my conventional non-fan oven. So I think I got pretty much everything together now for our orzo. So I think we're going to start in on that now. We got our mushrooms now. I'm not 100% when I want to throw these in here, or if I want to break these up more, if I want to just throw them in their whole. I'm leaning towards just throwing them in their whole. Let's move over to the other side of the stove here and uncover the stock so that it can boil. Move this over on the edge of the sink where it's on the metal, not on my wood counters. Okay, it's driving me nuts. Is this gonna work now? Let's see what's going on with you. I don't know if I can even load it. I was working on other projects with this. I don't know if I can even see the log here, because the dashboard isn't loading. It has crashed and burned. Yeah, that's not open to the right thing, and that's going to be a pain to get to it. Especially on stream, so we're not going to do that. We're going to start heating a pan up over here. Now that we can turn the oven off, we'll get into sauteing all the veg to go with this. I also added some giant hunks of ginger in here with my duck, which I wouldn't normally do with the normal stock. You're supposed to sizzle. I command you to sizzle, onion. How dare you not sizzle for me? Where's my sizzle? Come on, just a little sizzle. I don't hate your dinner combos. Most of them are just a smorgasbord of food. Yeah, that too. Yeah, it's sort of like my cooking. Oh, I was going to throw a bit more celery into this. Or a bit of celery into this, too. Peppers going in, both types. And we got some celery in there too. And I'm trying to burn my spoon. Salt again. Pepper. MSG. Garlic powder. That was almost the last of it. And where's the cayenne? That's the new cayenne. Where's the old cayenne? There it is. We're not going to make it spicy. Proceeds to add tons of black pepper and cayenne. And finally going in with all of our leeks to melt down. I feel like I should kitchen Shane more. I feel like I'm too nice in most scenarios. And yes, that's me, Mr. Goes Off on a Rant. You could just call it modern. Like I said before, classically, you'll find with like old school wild rice packets and other stuff, one of the ways they cheaped out is they added Orzo. They added pasta that looked like rice. If you ever get that wild rice from the store that's like 95% white rice, white long grain rice, with those little like off-color spears, is Orzo. I guess they're not spears, but Yeah, that was sort of an epiphany for me at one point. Like, really? They put pasta and called it wild rice? That was perhaps before my mind was blown by how bad capitalism can be. Thank you for the follow. Thank you for all of the follows. Am I missing stuff tonight? Like, we're not getting the bot working right, but audio and everything. Nothing's seeming lovely right now. I appreciate that, Countess. Lots of lovely raiders. Lots of lovely raiders. Hi, Dragon Sage. Ooh, Dragon Sage on a stream streak too. So this week, I'm doing Thanksgiving. I don't normally stream on Tuesday. Thank you so much for the rage. Thank you for hanging out with me on a non-normal night for me. And I'm going to be streaming on Thursday this week, which is not a normal night. Normally I do Wednesday and Friday. And so we're skipping my ingredient challenge, which happens on Wednesday this week. But we do have the vote already going up in my Discord for that, if Discord wants to cooperate. Nothing is cooperating with me tonight, is it? Why is that showing that? There we go. So, next Wednesday, not tomorrow, but next Wednesday, we have potato flour or cheddar cheese with a lead there for cheddar cheese. Alright, pretty happy with where these veggies are, so we're going to start adding some water here. And we're going to add our orzo. I didn't see how the oxtail is being served. Are we serving soup with soup? And the orzo going in there. Cooking the orzo in this. I added just a bit more water than I thought I would need for the pasta. Now see, Wagyu beef carpaccio would be an amazing starter, but with lamb chops and lobster risotto and paired with vanilla ice cream, so it's being served with vanilla ice cream, not like ice cream is dessert. It's all there in front of you at once. Strawberries and strawberry syrup, which is sort of redundant when it comes to menu saying normally you just say strawberries and the syrup's there extra. If you're lucky, they think it's just strawberry juice. They think even higher of you. All right, we got this nicely up to heat. We got this nicely boiling. Actually, let's give it a moment longer to get up to a full boil here. It's bubbling nicely around the sides. Lid on top of that loveliness, and the heat is off. We'll set that in the back. But I haven't made dinner for myself yet. So we're going to add even more confusion to the AI and do another meal here. Preferably with a clean pan. Even though I'm making basically the same thing I made the last time in it. So let's make some dinner. We've got green bell pepper. I've got half pound of leftover ground beef. We got leftover pasta shells. And I can make cheese sauce. Or Mornay if you want to be fancy with the words. Alright, pan's nice and dry. Let's add a bit of oil in there. I would think lobster risotto is lovely, and delicious. Lamb chops and carpaccio are both going to way overpower that. And strawberries and strawberry syrup. So, ice cream, strawberries, and strawberry syrup. Like, are we in a Escoffier restaurant? Are we doing the peach Melba thing? Or, like, because I think that's a little, like, you can find a scoop of ice cream on most restaurant menus, but I still think of it as perhaps a bit elementary to go with, you know, Wagyu and lobster risotto. Like, there is a wide world of incredibly expensive desserts and pastries. I sort of feel like with the other stuff that bot is putting out, ice cream is rather eh. You said that dad joke yesterday, bot. What's in the pan? A half pound of ground beef, cut into 2 cubes, that was sitting around in my fridge. We're working on dinner now. We're working on my actual dinner now. We've got our Orzo mushroom, even though the mushrooms aren't with it. Everything else is with the Orzo. That's chilling in the pan for 10 plus minutes. We can leave it longer. I'm going to just add the mushrooms to that, put it in a nice container to be reheated, and put it in the refrigerator for Thursday. Maybe with a couple of scoops for myself. For my dinner tonight, we're going to do cheesy green pepper mac. Beefy green pepper cheesy mac. And it's not macaroni, cheesy shells. Oops, you go back in the back. Thank you for the follow. You doing it bake style or you doing it oozy? Hope you're having a good start to your week, Oscar. I forgot we're taking the meat out of the pan before we switch over to the peppers. Flame off on the beef. If we get a few extra crispy bits, I'm not the end of the world here. Heat back on. We just want the majority of it out and tender. You can make baked mac and cheese oozy, don't get me wrong. I just think of... I didn't have a better way of describing just, stovetop mac. Peppers going in there. Flour. Start a roux. Why does oozy not rhyme with cozy? Then start adding water to build our roux, or our cheese sauce. He motivates you to study. Why is that? Please. I am curious. Your wife's name's Joseph Takagi? I'm not gonna shame. Oh, so you mean Ice kicked him out? No, but it's cool. I recognize the guy too. I know he's more than just a actor. There's a lot of interesting characters out there like that just sort of like moonlight in acting. It's got to be a bummer for people that are trying to be like full-time actors to see people be like all stars and everything else, and then they just get handed amazing deals or amazing parts. Sort of like Ben Stein. Like, how did he get all of this fame? So I'm gonna go ahead and just do American cheese with this. And let it just melt in. I am going to make the assumption that our orzo is set. Let's take a look at our orzo dish here. That is looking nicely cooked. Turn the heat off on the cheese sauce and back. Add freeze-dried parsley. I'm realizing filling out this bowl at this point is probably not the best plan for health safety. So I'm going to hold off on that. I'm going to do a layer here that I think is going to chill down perfectly fine by itself and leave it there with that. I'm going to fill myself a bowl to have with my dinner tonight. And then I'm going to leave some in the pan to cool on the counter separate. That is because high starch items, rice especially, but I think this would probably be much in the same category, are actually a major cause to a lot of upset tummies. But you see, that's not rice though. That's orzo. That's pasta. But I'm going to wait to put the rest of this on top of there before I put the mushrooms on top of all of it. So we got a little bit of a project hanging out for that. And I don't know how much water... Oh, I do. Nope, not trusting it. Let's do the right amount. And cold water. So 1.2 to 1. Make sure they all get lightly hydrated. And heat with some salt. Ooh, is it an ingredient challenge night, Muskeg? Now, to be fair, carbohydrates are not sugars yet. Still hot between the... Like, it's nice this time of year, having the kitchen warmed up, keeping the house nice and warm. But running the oven at 425 plus a pot of stock on the top is a bit much. Let's add some heat back to this cheese sauce and keep cooking this too. I was just not able to pay much attention to it as I was dealing with the orzo. Oof. Yeah, I'm glad that I wasn't even happy to go outside and go last minute shopping for a few things I needed for today. And it was like 55 out. Like, I was thinking, like, maybe I should grab my jacket. Midwest me that had just moved out to California would have been laughing his butt off. You need a jacket for 50 degrees? You wimp. Alright, this duck hasn't dried up enough. We're just gonna throw this straight into the oven, or into the refrigerator. That'll work. Hopefully. Crash! Duck goes everywhere. Yep. Us crazy people using freedom units think that freezing is 32 degrees instead of 0. I've talked about this before. I'm so torn when it comes, specifically when it comes to Celsius versus Fahrenheit. I don't necessarily think one of them better than the other. They both have their benefits, especially normal everyday use of them. You want to get into scientific stuff, you want to get into the okay, you know, I'll trade you kelvins. But for everyday use, I'm okay with Fahrenheit. Fair number of the other ones are like, yeah, we should just be doing that. Like, did you know that there's actually 2 standards for the distance of a foot in the United States? They're like microscopically different, but they have caused like bridges to be improperly built and the buildings to lose floors. All my culinary instructors are cringing right now at what I'm doing. Yeah, it's weird that way too. Like in both directions, I think, isn't it? Or am I wrong on that? I know at least in negative, like you were saying there, they converge to be essentially the same. Don't they do that in extreme higher temperatures too? So we'll add our ground beef back in with the cheese. Give that a stir up. We're waiting on our pasta to cook through. It's good stuff. I think mashed potatoes are more my answer to that question. Just give me mashed potatoes. And more mashed potatoes. I'd like my spaghetti with the side of mashed potatoes, please. Some of the tech of arenas is really sort of fascinating. Like the design, the architecture of it. Because if you think about the amount of heat that many people generate being in close quarters. Aramark and Cisco and all of them have got some insane tech for feeding all the people at them too. Like, I bash on them for being big corporate food quite a bit, but at the same time, some ways they're pushing new technologies. I'm relatively certain they're the ones that came up with that little cheap valve in the bottom of your beer cup. So they can just slam beer cups down and fill them from the bottom. But I actually got into this is more the financial end of that, but I actually got royally frustrated at the thought of them banning all sorts of stuff as far as plastics and disposables and straws and stuff like that. Just knowing the cost of labor these days. Like, when it comes to a coffee place, where if you're in a city that wants to ban using disposable cups, which I think Berkeley has, I think a couple of cities have, the logistics behind, okay, I'm gonna clean your mug for you, that's like, what, at least 30 seconds? So that's at least a 12.5-cent charge in labor at figuring $20 an hour, which is California's fast food labor rate, and that boils down to essentially $0.25 a minute, plus taxes, both for them and for you. And so, if you're at $20 an hour, if someone's doing something for a minute, it's costing you $0.25. Plus, more. I want us more to think more like 33 cents back in like stamp prices, but and the logistics of, okay, so do we clean? Like, you got to raise your prices that much more in order to just not give away and ruin the environment. Yeah. It gets weird with that sort of stuff. Like, there was an article on, or a thread on Reddit about Waffle House now charging a 20% upcharge for to-go orders.
And on one hand, yeah, it's not costing them 20%. But, and I've ranted on this before too, but it's Waffle House. These are all tipped employees. They're not paying people full proper wages. And legally, and they're a corporation, so I'm assuming they're going to somewhat follow the rules. Joe and Bob's Coffee Shack, I don't, but Waffle House, I do. To-go orders are not a tipped job. Like, it's not classified as that legally. And so, if they're going to honor to-go orders and be legal about it, they have to have someone on staff that is not a tipped employee to handle the sale. So that's your first step. So you're paying more for that person to do the labor on the to-go. Then you're paying the labor for that person to package it all up and put it in a bag and tie it all up and spend another, half minute on it. And then you're paying for that bag, the packaging, all of the to-go sauces that you're going to throw in the trash, the napkins and the junk stuff that you're going to throw out rather than use your nice silverware at home. They're paying for all of that up and beyond your normal order. And they're set up as a business, not as a to-go business. They're not set up to have people running in for Instacart or for whatever. I'm forgetting the names of the to-go order places. They're not set up for that. And so I'm totally with it. Like, you want to charge 20% because your customers are ones that are going to sit down and hang out and have a cup of coffee, be a normal everyday, 5 times a week customer. I think we've waited long enough. I've ranted long enough that our pasta is done. Yep, that's looking done. We'll hit that with a second round of salt. Pepper. MSG. And a stir. And then our cheesy sauce. Cheesy beefy sauce. With green bell pepper. In with our shell pasta. Might actually need a little dairy to loosen that up. Let's do a little dried oregano in there too.
And there we have it. Have that. I have to sort of call myself out here. We're joking about serving spaghetti with rice. And look at my dinner tonight. Do you think this is where we are going to leave things for tonight? The stock, like I said, is going to keep going. I'm going to strain that at some point and continue cooking it down until it's reduced down to next to nothing for Thursday. I'm going to finish making up the orzo with the mushrooms and cover that up nicely and make it so I can just throw it in the oven for Thursday. Got mac and beef and peppers for tomorrow. Sunday, I still don't have plans in the schedule, but I will be back here streaming. I do have plans on Monday. I thought I would just see after Thanksgiving what I've got before I commit on what I'm doing on Sunday. Alright folks, I'm going to send all of you lovely people off to go hang out with Neil's Meals. He's doing Thanksgiving side dishes in advance. So hopefully you'll enjoy hanging out with them. I've enjoyed hanging out with all of you. I've told you what I'm doing up here in the future. I will be here on Thanksgiving, 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern, 12:30 in the morning British time. I hope to see you all back here for that. Have a great night, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving if I don't see you. Oops, I gotta start the raid and then do the raid. Alright, folks.